So, welcome everyone, and we'll start off, of course, with our bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
See if I can get the screen share going here. There we are. Very good. So Joseph recognizes his brothers don't recognize him. He speaks harshly to them, and of course they're taken aback, right? And he accuses them of being spies. And the reason why that particular accusation is going to stick and resonate and why it's in the story here is because the brothers and he know about what happened in Shechem, where they went in and destroyed that city. And in fact, it's going to show up in the Rashi today. But that is another reason why the story of Shechem is quite significant, because that way, when he accuses them of being spies in order to destroy the town or the city, or whatever, it has legs to it. It has feet. It sticks. And they know that. And of course, they're probably wondering to themselves, why is he saying this to us? Does he know about Shechem? Does he know about Shechem? So all these pieces tend to fit together very well. So they said, Vayomru Elav, they said to him, Lo Adoni, no, my Lord, Va'avadecha ba'u lishvor ochel, and your servants, but your servants have come to purchase food, See if there's a Rashi on this. I believe there may be. There it is. Lo Adoni, no, my Lord. Lo tomarchein, don't say that. Shahare avadecha ba'u lishvor ochel, because in fact your servants have come to purchase food. There's not an obvious reason as to what's bothering Rashi here, that he feels that he needs to explain this, because maybe it's the va'avadecha that Rashi is concerned about. It could be because, right? Okay. They go on to say, Kulanu bnei ish echad nachnu. We are all sons of one man. Kenim anachnu. We are truthful. We are genuine. Lo hayu avadecha meraglim. Your servants have not been spies, are not acting as spies.
Oh.
So let's see here. Kulanu vnei ish echad nachnu. We indeed are all sons of one man. Now Rashi says something really beautiful here. Nitznetza bahem ruach hakodesh. The Holy Spirit sparkled within them, right? Or the flame, it was shining there. V'kolaluhu imahem, and they included him, that is Joseph, amongst them. Sha'afhu ben avihem, because indeed he was also the son of their father. So then when they say, let's take a look at this verse back here again, right? Here it says kulanu. We are all, it could have just said bnei ish echad nachnu. We are sons of one man. But the fact that it says all of us are sons of one man is as if they're including Joseph. Unknowingly, they were saying it with the Holy Spirit sparkling within them.
Yeah, he says, Rabbi, he says that we're 10 people, and one is with our father, and the other one is
Harlan, you are anticipating. It's all coming up. It's all coming up. Patience, my friend. Okay. Kenim. he says this word kenim means amitiyim. We are genuine. We are telling the truth. And he gives examples, Rashi gives examples, Kamo Shamot Yud, just as in Exodus chapter 10, it says, Kain Dibarta. Moses, I believe, is speaking to Pharaoh, and he says, you've uttered the truth. You've indeed uttered the truth. In Numbers 27, Kain Benot Tzlofchad Dovrot, the daughters of Tzlofchad speak the truth. And in Isaiah it says, Ve'evrato lo chen badav. And his anger was untruthful boasting. Lo chen, untruthful, badav, boasting. Next verse. Vayomer aleihem, and Joseph said back to them, Lo, that's not true, ki ervat haaretz batim leot. For indeed you have come to see how the land is exposed. That was the initial, of course, accusation he had. And as I said, I think the reason why he can keep telling them this is because of the Shechem incident.
Yeah.
Ki ervat haaretz batim le'orot. You have come to see how the land is exposed, the exposure of the land, the nakedness of the land. Bereshit Rabbah, Shaharei Nichnastim Ba'asara Sha'arei Ha'ir, because as we learned from a previous Rashi, the reason Joseph is saying this to them is you all came in through 10 different gates. Lama lo nichnastem b'sha'ar echad. So why, if you're genuine and you're just coming to buy food, why did you have the need to come through 10 different gates? You could have just come through one gate. Now that's not explicitly stated in the text. Rashi pulls it out from the way the text is stated, or there's a tradition, but it's inconsistent with the story as it's being told to them. Vayomru. So this is where they say it. Now they have to start telling, explaining themselves. And they say, Shneim asar avadecha, okay, 12 of your servants, achim anachnu, we are all brothers, b'nei ish echad be'eretz Kna'an, sons of one man in the land of Canaan, v'hinei hakaton et avinu, and indeed the littlest one, the youngest one, is with our father, hayom, today, v'haichad einenu, and the other one disappeared. We don't know where he is. He isn't around. Einenu, he's not around. And let's see, here we are. Vayomru shnei masar avadecha, and they said, your 12 servants. Uvishvil oto echad she'einenu, and on account of the one who is not around, nitpazarnu ba'ir levaksho. That's the reason. Look at how Rashi is putting together sewing together this story about them coming in 10 different gates. Remember, they didn't want to have the Ein Hara to have power over them. They came in through 10 different gates, and now they're explaining that the reason they came through those 10 different gates was to seek the brother who was no longer with them. They came to seek him. That's why they were looking all around. So now they've explained the 10 different gates. Let's make sure we've got everything here. Yeah. Vayomer aleihem Yosef. So Joseph said to them, Hu asher diparti alechem. That's exactly what I said to you, Lamor, when I said miraglim atem. You are spies. It's exactly what I was referring to. How's that? And here we are, Rashi. Hu asher dibarti. That's exactly what I said. Indeed, that's what I said. Hadavar asher dibarti. That the fact that I said to you, Shatem meraglim, that you are spies, Hi ha'emet, or hu ha'emet, that is the truth. Vahanachon, and the proper thing to say, Zehu lefi pshuto. And that's explaining the verse simply by its meaning, the direct meaning of that verse. Simple meaning. Umidrasho, but there's a midrash about this. Amar lahem, he said to them, Joseph said to them, Ve'ilu metzatem oto, and were you to find him, vayifseku alechem mamon harbe tifduhu, and you were at the price to redeem him from ransom, the price to ransom him would have been very, very high. Would you have paid for that ransom? Would you have redeemed him? Amru lo hey. So they said, yeah, we're ready to do that. Amar lahem, so he said to them, V'im yomru lachem shelo yachziruhu b'shum mamon, ma ta'asu, and were they to say to you that they would not return him for any money at all, that there's no price that would be high enough to redeem him, ma ta'asu, then what would you do? Amru, so they said, Lachach banu laharog or lahareg. That's why we have come, either to kill or be killed. Amar lahem, and at that point he said to them, Hu asher dibarti alechem. That's exactly what I was referring to when I spoke to you. Laharog bnei ha'ir. You actually came to kill the inhabitants of the city. Batem, you came. And menachesh ani bigvi'i, I'm able to see in my cup. Remember, that's stated later on altogether, that he is able to see, use his cup to predict the future, to see into things. Sheli, my cup, sheshnayim mikem hecharivu krach gadol shel Shechem, that two of you destroyed a large city of Shechem, the large city of Shechem.
So, in a sense, by the way, they are spies, right? Because their behavior is very suspicious. I mean, look, you're looking around for something, covertly, right? So even though it may have been an innocent thing looking for their brother, they're still spies, right? I mean, in some sense.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah. Okay. I just want to confirm that because he's actually, it is the truth. So, okay.
Well,
right.
According to the Midrash, it's the truth. It's not actually in the text that they came to look for their brother, but the Midrash is pointing out that it's a real catch-22. They can't win.
Yeah.
Either they're coming to look for their brother and they intend to do violence if they find him and they have to fight for him, and they'll kill people if they have to, or I mean, as if we look at the text, they're not coming to look for their brother. In which case they can't win. It's bad. It's bad either way.
Yeah, it is bad. It is bad, no matter what.
So our tradition is clearly saying that they are worried. The fact that you'll see how they react later on. Okay, not to say that you might not. Oh. Reuben actually says to them, this is happening because of what we did, and we didn't listen to his cries. Reuben actually says that to them in the text. So I think if, in analyzing this and setting it up as not so much as history, not looking at it from historical perspective, but in terms of great literature, which is able to express in this narrative form the depth of human emotion and shows an understanding of how people really operate. That part of that emotion is why did they not want to go down to Egypt before that? Remember, Jacob has to encourage them to go down to Egypt. The last place in the world they want to go to is Egypt because they're feeling so guilty. They feel terrible. They were caught up in their jealousy, and they didn't think past their own jealousy. And now that they've gotten away with it, now they have a chance to come down and see the damage they've done. And then we've got the story of Shechem as well. All this stuff. I mean, you don't just forget about this stuff. And now they have to go down to Egypt. They're going down there, and at least according to the text, they're figuring, okay, if we're down there, then we're going to try and see if we can find him. I mean, that's what's going to happen. We can't not. In some ways, Shira Beth, it's what you're saying. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Is it according to the text or according to the Midrash?
What's that?
Because I don't think the text has them searching for their brother.
No, it doesn't explicitly. It's more implied. Yeah. It's inferred from what Joseph is telling them and their response to Joseph. So
That's a midrash. I mean, I would never
is
have
a
thought of
midrash.
that if the midrash hadn't filled that in for me, you know.
Right, I agree. But I think, again, the Midrash, as Rashi, is there to help us understand how our tradition interprets this text. A text is a text, but it can be interpreted different ways. And as I suggested, the whole purpose of Rashi's enterprise was possibly to prevent missionizing amongst Jews and to give them the background they needed in order to answer the missionaries, because missionaries were using the text itself to prove other kinds of things, and they had no response because they didn't have enough of a background. And so Rashi shares this background with us. This is the way our tradition, at least as Rashi has expressed it. It's not that if we should study for the next 100 years together, right? We could go from this Rashi onto other interpreters and see that in some cases they disagree with him. But essentially, they're not going to disagree on the basic points of these texts. They'll disagree on detail. So, and I'm not saying they won't at times disagree with him as to his interpretation. But basically, Rashi's trying, I like to say, Rashi's like the Reader's Digest. He isn't trying to come up with original statements. He does from time to time because he's so brilliant. But his main purpose is to try and set out before us the traditional interpretations, the basic interpretations. And of course, even within those interpretations, even within the Midrash or the Midrashim, there are differences of opinion on some of the interpretations. So let's see here. Yeah. So we're on to verse 15. Bezot tibachenu. So you're going to be tested in this way. I'm going to test you because I'm convinced you're spies. And if you're not spies, we're going to find out. Che Pharaoh, by the life of Pharaoh, im tetzu mizeh, if you will leave this place. Ki im bavo achichem hakaton mina, unless your youngest brother comes here. Unless the little brother comes here. In other words, you said you got a little brother? Okay, show me. And you'll see how he handles this whole thing. And why do I think he's saying this, by the way? I'm willing to break for a moment and ask the crucial question of, why is Joseph doing this? Why did he not, the moment he recognized his brothers, why didn't he just say to them, look, I'm Joseph? Why didn't he do that?
He wants to punish him, I suppose.
No,
for what?
He's not interested. He's beyond that. He's beyond that. He's not going to put himself in God's place. No. He wants to find out if they've really done tshuva. Do they really care about what they did? And what he's going to do is he's going to make it very easy for them to do the same thing again.
But that is putting himself in God's place.
Yes,
it's not his business to be their judge. I mean, if he were really as pure a tzaddik as his title sometimes makes it seem, he would just embrace them and say, all is forgiven. I love you. I'm so happy to see you. He's not. Go ahead.
He's not judging them.
No, I agree. He's not judging them. That's not the basis.
He's testing them. Correct. He's giving them an opportunity to show that they are concerned about the welfare of a brother, or that they are less concerned. He also wants to see more of his family. And, he knows he's not going to hurt Benjamin. So he knows that his father won't have a reason to get upset. He's just giving them an opportunity to show how they feel so he can know how he should react. Because if they were still dug into being against him, he might be fearful of them.
I understand he's being fearful. That makes perfect sense to me. But the idea that he's sort of above it all and has no more anger, I don't believe it. Or no more.
So let me go further, if I may. Can I say this? He knows he has a younger brother. If Joseph, as the son of Rachel, was so beloved to his father, and now Joseph isn't around, is there a possibility that Jacob has transferred that affection to Benjamin? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think so. Not only that, is there some evidence to think that that may be the case? What evidence is there to show that? The fact that he didn't come down, that Benjamin was not amongst the rest of the brothers coming down to Egypt. And there's every reason for Joseph to wonder if the brothers are still harboring that jealousy.
Of
Do they
course.
still harbor that
Absolutely.
jealousy? Okay.
Absolutely.
And he wants to
Putting
give them an
himself
opportunity. Yeah.
He's putting himself in the place of someone who needs to gather judgment, to gather evidence, to make a judgment.
I don't know. I think he's doing something to prove it for themselves. My sense, as we watch this resolution, in the final portion of Vayechi, we see how troubled the brothers are, because when Jacob dies, they are worried that at that point Joseph is going to kill them.
Oh, yeah.
Now that the father is dead, they think, and when they come and tell, they cook up a story, okay, that Jacob had said this, okay, and the reason why it's a story is because if that story were true, who would Jacob have told it to? Joseph. Joseph wouldn't have said to the brothers, "Listen, tell Joseph not to take it out on us." It's nonsense. All right, and when they come to Joseph and say this to them, he breaks down, and what he says to them is some of the most beautiful words in the Torah. And he actually says, "Am I God?" Okay, I'm not. Okay.
I think he says that out of ambivalence within himself. He's not sure.
Okay.
I think
You're entitled to that position. Obviously, when he's asked to give the interpretations to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says, "I understand you have this talent," he says, "No, it's not me." He says,
I
"God
think
is
that-
Pharaoh."
Yeah,
I
he
think
says. But again, it's ambivalence. Sorry, Lauren. I'll finish in a sec. He says, interpretations come from God. Tell me your dream. He's not totally clear on the difference between himself and God.
Okay, so look, everyone's entitled. You're certainly entitled to take that position. I don't think
so.
it's.
I
don't-
think I don't think that. I think that he has had, because he's had time, distance, and success. He's had a lot of opportunity for reflection and growth. And when you're successful, sometimes there can be a confidence that allows you to not be as angry about all your past hurts, because look, you're doing all right. And sometimes, you might even have some comfort that maybe the people who've hurt you aren't doing as well as you, but you have enough relief to be able to not have to act on your anger, even, yes, probably some anger is still there, but he probably has enough maturity at this point that he can make choices about how he acts. And he's, he also has an advantage of knowing more than they do, and he's able to, kind of figure things out in a way that ends up being very helpful.
Yeah, and it is, and it draws out, Yehuda's speech later on. It draws out a lot from the brothers, but I just don't see it as, totally pure and above it all on Joseph's part.
Okay, so I do, and part of the reason is because I think that when you have complete trust in God, when you really do believe in God, then your anger, you have no reason to be angry. And in fact, he says to the brothers later on, "You meant it for bad, but God meant it for good, to save many lives." And I think Joseph at this point in his life has gotten to there. And I think that when you really, it's part of what it means to trust God. When you really, and by the way, this is why Moses, incidentally, is judged so harshly when he shows anger. Because showing anger in some ways is showing a lack of trust in God. It's a kind of idolatry. And I think Joseph is past that. I'm willing to grant him that. and that the reason he's doing this right now is because he cannot trust his brothers to really feel bad about what they did. And of course, the way you know if your tshuva is a genuine tshuva, and this is actually stated right in the codes, that the way to know genuine tshuva is when you're given exactly the same circumstances that led you to sin to begin with, and you are provided with exactly the same circumstances, and you hold strong. You don't give in. Then you know you've actually done the
But you're
tshuva.
describing the way a judge behaves.
Regardless,
A judge is someone who has to know whether the other person is truly repentant. Joseph is acting as a judge. He's
okay,
putting
so Skirabeth, even if I grant you the fact that Joseph is acting as a judge, does that mean he's acting like God? He thinks he's God? Are there not, so does that mean every human judge that has a job to do, and not only that, we're given the responsibility to do that, is the Torah teaching us that we should never judge at all? Or is it saying that you can judge?
No, of course not. He's a human being. He's a human being, just like all of us are. That's all I'm saying. I don't think
It's about, but it's not,
no.
it's a
I think you're saying more.
Judgment comes from a place of wisdom and a place of discernment. And, so it's not about his being judgmental. Judgmentalism is not the same as judgment. So if you're a judge, hopefully you've been trained and you've matured and you will make wise decisions. Doesn't mean you're always right. You don't have all the knowledge that God has. You have the knowledge that you're given, and you do your best. And there is a place for judgment that's very moral. It's not the same as judgmentalism.
Not only that, but if in fact they show themselves to have totally changed their approach and their jealousy and all that, okay, there can be true forgiveness. Okay, I think we act more as God when we show grace. I'm not saying that we should never show grace, but sometimes that turns out to be cheap and not genuine. He truly can forgive his brothers now, after he puts them through what he's going to put them through, to allow them, to give them that opportunity. And by the way, of course, we see Judah acting as one of the noblest. I mean, if you want an example of noble behavior, you have Judah's speech to him.
What happened to Reuben?
I'm sorry?
What happened to Reuben? He's the oldest.
Well, we'll have to see what happened to Reuben later. I mean, he may be the oldest. Unfortunately, he doesn't necessarily follow through. He doesn't have Judah's strength of character.
Oh.
Okay. You'll see. Hopefully we will see that. Let's see if we have any time for anything else. I think we are, okay, here we go. Chai Faro, just doing the Rashi on the verse that we did, right? Where he's telling them, unless he can see the youngest brother, he doesn't really believe them. Chai Paro, im ye Paro, should Pharaoh live? Okay. So, I mean, I think he's sort of saying, as by Pharaoh's life, right? Im tetzu mizeh, if you should go out from this, and Rashi's explaining what he meant by that. Im hakomazeh, if you should leave this place, you're stuck here now. That's it. You can't leave. I'm basically placing you under arrest. But you'll see what happens. We'll have to leave that for God willing tomorrow. We should be able to see that tomorrow. So we'll take take this. Let's see if I can. There we go. Oops. Okay. There we go. The very fact, by the way, that he changes what he decides. I mean, here he's giving the sentence, so to speak. So, Shirabeth, I agree. He's acting as a judge. I think the issue is he placing himself in God's place? And I don't think that's the purpose here. So, I'm sorry. I know you won't be able to make it tomorrow, but I certainly want to give you an opportunity to respond. So.
Yeah, no, I I have, I guess I see him as a more mixed character than you do, but there's evidence for both in the text and in Midrash.
Okay. I'm satisfied with that, believe me. Okay. Very good. So that's it for today. Yes. Take care. Happy Hanukkah. We'll stop this share and stop the recording.